It's Andy Coppins, it's Talking 10, and it's our new show that we've been talking about debuting for a while. Welcome in to the Daily 10. That's right, it is your daily dose of 10 minutes of Big Ten talk and talk about topics across the college athletics landscape. But what other topic could be talked about as we debut than the college football playoff, especially since, well, we're entering the final week of the regular season. And in the Big Ten, we already know that the two teams are going to be the Wisconsin Badgers and the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, I guess the question that I would ask is, what is the national discussion regarding the Big Ten at this point? And there is no topic bigger than the Wisconsin Badgers. Are they a college football playoff team or not? If they beat Ohio State, do they get in? As they head into the final weekend of the season, they do sit at number 5 in the rankings, right on the doorstep of getting into the college football playoff. However, I'm not here to talk about their merits on the college football playoff. I'm here to talk to you today about one of the biggest troll jobs I have ever seen when it comes to a team. If this was any other program than the Wisconsin Badgers, if this was Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, you name the other brand names in the Big Ten, would this even be a discussion about a 13-0 team, an undefeated team, and the champion of the Big Ten getting into the college football playoff? My answer is no. But just seems to be this national media perception that is creeping in that the Badgers are not worthy. I want to give you an example of how bad the troll job has been for the Wisconsin Badgers, and there's no bigger troll than Colin Cowherd, host of The Herd on FS1 and Fox Sports Radio. And I want to give you a sampling of just how ridiculous Colin Cowherd has been. So let's take a look at what he had to say about the Wisconsin Badgers before the Michigan game.
And everybody likes Wisconsin. Wisconsin's amazing. It's the best defense. Harbaugh's no good, and people are falling for this. So the Wisconsin defense is ranked 5th in the country, okay? And I've told you, I love the Wisconsin story. If they go undefeated, they absolutely, you can make an argument. They beat Michigan here. They beat ranked Michigan. They beat Ohio State, then put them in. I like Wisconsin. We are overstating how great their defense is. We are now calling Harbaugh an average coach. Folks, here's the truth about great defenses, and there is no exception to what I'm going to say. To have a great defense, you need great personnel. Remember those Ravens with Ray Lewis, multiple Hall of Famers? That Seahawks defense. How about Denver's 2 years ago?
Great personnel? The NFL? Let's get this straight. You're comparing a college defense to the great defenses of the NFL. Last time I checked, those defenses are full of All-Americans or former All-Americans and the cream of the crop from across college football. Cowherd is conflating college football with the NFL and somehow talking down about the Wisconsin Badgers defense. Never mind the fact that multiple players have been drafted at multiple positions from this Wisconsin Badgers defense, but he's not done denigrating the Badgers just yet.
Wisconsin has played awful offenses all year, some of the worst in college football. Okay, Michigan's not perfect. They're on their 3rd quarterback, but they have better personnel. I'm going to suggest to you that Michigan is going to win this game. What? I said it!
Michigan has better personnel than Wisconsin? Now, don't get me wrong. I've got no problem with somebody making a prediction that they firmly believe in, but it also needs to be backed up by some facts here. And if you're really going to sit there and tell me before Wisconsin took on Michigan that Michigan's personnel is better than Wisconsin's, have you seen these two teams play this season? You can make a very valid argument that the defenses going into that game were a wash. I got no problem saying that. But when you talk about offensive personnel, are you kidding me with this type of an argument? And here's where the problem lies for me with guys like Cowherd. It's that Jonathan Taylor being a 1,500-yard back, they've got myriad of injuries to their wide receiver core, yet Danny Davis, Quintez Cephas prior to his injury, A.J. Taylor, Kendrick Pryor, all have come up big in big-time situations. You've got a great offensive line in front of what is an average quarterback, but Hornibrook, Brandon Peters, right now, I'm pretty sure that's who I would have taken going into this game, and it has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that Alex Hornibrook has experience, Brandon Peters doesn't. And those two have actually shown to be mediocre quarterbacks, to be 100% honest. But Karen Higdon, Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin's offensive line, Michigan's offensive line, you tell me which group of personnel is better going into that game. Coming out of it, there's no question which team was better. There's no question which team had the better personnel. But again, this is part of the national media's narrative when it comes to the Wisconsin Badgers. It doesn't matter who the players are, how good they are, they're nameless, faceless dupes. And they're no good compared to the greats of Alabama, the greats at Miami, all of those things. But, again, the hurdles keep moving because going after that game, it still didn't matter to guys like Colin Cowherd. But luckily, there was one person going into the Michigan game who showed that the national media isn't always biased, and that was his partner on Speak for Yourself, one Jason Whitlock.
I don't think it's going to be that close. I'll be shocked if Michigan's able to do anything but kick a couple of field goals. Wisconsin's defense is 1,000% for real. Jim Harbaugh, through 3 years, has had no luck at developing a quarterback so far. I just don't see Michigan scoring in any real consistent way, and Wisconsin's defense is going to create enough field position. Jim Harbaugh was brought to Michigan to have them win Big Ten championships and beat great teams. He's not doing it.
Welcome to the voice of reason. But Jason Whitlock, as a national commentator, is one of the rare people who finally understands what Wisconsin truly is and has been about all season long. Now, for me, I guess the bigger issue is that Cowherd isn't just a troll when it comes to the Michigan game. He's been on Wisconsin's jock since 2016, folks, and we're about to see some of that in action.
I think Wisconsin, with a new defensive coordinator, a redshirt freshman quarterback, good linebackers, and a good back-end defense, but the toughest schedule I think I've seen in the Big Ten in years, I think Wisconsin's a 6-6 football team. And I told you this a couple days ago, I think they're going to start trending down because Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State, historic powers in the conference, all have, I believe, the right coach.
Yes, that's right. The 2016 Wisconsin Badgers were going to be 6-6. He was only off by 4 games. And then the troll job continues for Cowherd as he goes on and piles and shovels on some more bull crap, if you ask me, when it comes to the Wisconsin Badgers, because he says that the historic powers all have the right head coach. I'm sorry. There is a history, a nearly 25-year history at this point in time of the Wisconsin Badgers being a Big Ten championship contender. In fact, they've won more Big Ten championships in the past quarter of a century than everybody but Ohio State. That's right, Penn State, no. Michigan, no. Michigan State, no. So I fail to understand how Cowherd says that about those teams, and that's fine, that's his opinion. And then not also realize that Paul Chryst is exactly the right guy. But the Badgers are going to be trending down beyond 2016. All they've done is defy that logic as well. So, naturally, Colin Cowherd is the, end-all be-all when it comes to talking about the Wisconsin Badgers. Probably not. Especially when it came to this little nugget of the fake ID of college football. That's right, the Wisconsin Badgers are the 2015 Iowa Hawkeyes, according to Cowherd.
We don't care, Wisconsin. We don't care what you've done in previous years. Schedule better games. By the way, Wisconsin's out of conference is trash until 2020 when they do a home-and-home with Notre Dame. It's trash. So congrats. Wisconsin is going to become the new Iowa, the fake ID of college football, where they're going to run the table against teams. They're a good team, but eventually they will be exposed when they play Ohio State. But I love the committee basically saying for teams like Washington and Wisconsin, do better.
But Colin, I thought you just got done saying that the Wisconsin Badgers 2016 schedule was one of the toughest, if not the toughest schedule you've ever seen. What about Alabama? They've played Mercer, a team who is below 500 in the FCS. But Cowherd was not done there. He still had more trolling of the Badgers to do.
And this is on Wisconsin. By the way, I looked up this morning. I already know their 2021 conference schedule. These schedules are 3 or 4 years in advance. You can buy out Florida Atlantic anytime you want and play a legitimate team. So that was my takeaway. We got a long way to go.
That's a great idea in theory there, Colin. But here's the issue. It takes 2 teams to tango, and there are very few teams that would like to tango with the Wisconsin Badgers in non-conference play, especially because a loss like that to Wisconsin or a loss for Wisconsin puts them out of the college football playoff picture. So I would just love to know which teams are going to be available and want to play Wisconsin. In this day and age, it's either going to require what they are doing with that Notre Dame series, where it's Lambeau Field one year, Soldier Field the next, and that means play neutral site games, or God forbid, an SEC team comes to Big Ten country, and then Wisconsin goes to SEC country. What a novel idea. Or maybe the Big 12 or Pac-12 actually decide to schedule opponents that matter in non-conference play as well. And then you've got a perfectly good situation for the Wisconsin Badgers to play better competition out of conference. Again, it takes 2 to tango, Colin. Not just the Wisconsin Badgers waving the wand saying we need a better non-conference schedule and it magically appearing. That's not how that happens. These games, a la the 2020 and 2021 Notre Dame series, that thing has taken 3 years to put together. Yeah, that's right. It took 3 years to get that contract for a game that's in 2020 to get played. Think about that. These aren't situations as easy as Cowherd makes them out to be. That beside the point, USF, not a bad non-conference opponent. I guess for me, here's the issue with Cowherd. Again, inconsistent. He begs and says Wisconsin's going to be 6-6 against the toughest schedule he's ever seen for a Big Ten team. And then the very next season says they don't deserve it because they don't play tough non-conference opponents. That's simply not true. They've played LSU twice, Alabama, and they scheduled BYU when BYU was a 9-10 win team every single year. So you can't have it both ways. So again, I'm going to harp on this. It is plainly and blatantly obvious that the national media does not like the Wisconsin Badgers. I see it very objectively here because I see the Wisconsin Badgers for who they are, and they're perfecting who they are. And that is what great teams do. Alabama, they predicated their dominance on what? Great defense with great personnel, really good offense with really good personnel. Ultimately, my big stink here is the goalposts continue to move for the people in the national media like Colin Cowherd and his ilk. I really don't understand it. At some point in time, that line in the sand, that demarcation point that you put in front of the Badgers, when they actually climb over that and beat that point, is the point you start saying they're for real. If it was beating Iowa, if it was beating Michigan, whichever one it was for you, that's the point in time where you say, okay, I might be wrong about this team. They might actually be a national title contender. But for guys like Colin Cowherd, it really doesn't matter because, again, the goalposts continue to move. So, what say you about all of this? Well, very simple. Leave a comment below in the comment section. While you're there, hit that subscribe button because we're going to have more of these types of talks on the Daily 10. With that being said, I'm Andy Coppins. Follow me on Twitter at AndyOnFootball. And don't forget to keep on living the B1G life.